for joining us on VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast, episode 190. With us this week, a couple great guests. I've got to introduce John Evans first. He's just been telling me how it took him 24 hours almost to get home from Wembley after Oldham somehow managed to get back into the Football League with a couple late goals. I think John has been going round Chadderton, which is up the road from me, with his dog Lloyd, pour round John's waist, Lloyd waving his white flag. His white flag. Oldham nearly did that in the last few minutes. His Latix flag ready for Division 4 or Division 3, the League 2 football next year. John, was it a good day at Wembley? Was it worth the 24-hour trip?
It wasn't worth it at 7 o'clock yesterday morning when I was at Birmingham train station. But yeah, it was a great day, wasn't it? What a way to win a final as well. Nobody turns round a 2-1 deficit in extra time. So it's great stuff.
Don't usually go brilliant. And the 55,000 there, and I just can't work out whether it's the popularity of football or the pride people have in their towns to do well. Southend, I think, had 30,000 there. Oldham, 21,000, was it? Astonishing.
Yeah, they could have easily done 70,000, but it was restricted capacity, wasn't it? So
just astonishing, and it'd be nice if they get them sort of, not them sort of crowd. If they were getting close to double figures next season, Oldham certainly having a good year next year, a good season, they're going to be hitting the 10,000. You think, wouldn't you?
Yeah. They should do for quite a big team, aren't they, for this level? But instead of playing Eastleigh away and stuff like that, we get Chesterfield away. So it's no great thing, but it just means a lot to be back in the Football League, doesn't it? So,
and it means a lot to you going down to Chesterfield and having it out with the Chesterfield fans by that spire there, the crooked spire, John. I know what you're going to be up to next season when you're boxing and commentating on a Saturday night, but congratulations. But we're here to talk boxing, and we've got Mr. Boxing of, Sky TV, everywhere, Sky Sports, the lot with us this week. Andy Clarke. Andy, thanks for coming on again.
No problem, Ads. I always enjoy it. I remember Oldham from back in the day, John, so do I. Rick Holden out on the wing, Mike Milligan, the cup runs, the mid-90s, basically. The mid-90s, a semi-final against United. I was listening to a podcast about that the other day, actually.
Yeah.
When I moved up to Manchester in 1991 with the Daily Sport and Sunday Sport, I was covering Oldham games. That's what I used to do. And even a few years ago, I was still covering them midweek when I started freelancing for the Sun. Oldham, fantastic, they're back. But Andy, also fantastic. The Knockout, your book. It's been a success on hardback, and even though you say it's been a success, we know it's been a success because this week, it's on the 5th of June, it's out on paperback.
Yeah, it is. So exactly a year pretty much after it came out, they're bringing the paperback out, which was always the plan. But you do have to have, the hardbacks needs to have sold well enough, basically, for you to kind of stick to that time frame. So yeah, it's out on Thursday. I'll give it a little bit of a push in various places this week. And I kind of, it feels like a really long time ago now that I actually wrote it, but I was looking at some old clips and stuff like that, and I'm looking forward to kind of putting my shoulder to the wheel a little bit this week, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess during the summer months, there's more chance you do with a holiday maker because they're not going to take a hardback to rebuy a pool. Many people, whereas you'll take a paperback, throw it in your beach bag, and read a book. Even if you leave it behind, you're more likely to take a paperback book, aren't you? So I'm guessing that's part of the target market, is it?
Yeah, 100%. And one thing they said to me a few weeks ago, the publisher, was that they got a decent order from W.H. Smith Travel, I think it was.
For the airports, yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. So that's good. And I've got something else that hopefully I might get over the line in the next couple of months or so, which will be different, something quite different to the Knockout, but it's definitely something I'd be quite keen to do again. The writing, it was good fun.
Brilliant.
And with the kind of this weird working regime I have, it's something that fits quite well too, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, Andy, if the urge had taken you to do another one, because I imagine when you're coming to the end of it, there's nothing you want to do less than open your laptop and start typing. But then you forget how hard it was when you actually see the results of your hard work. So I'm glad there's something else in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? You do get. I mean, I genuinely did really enjoy it all the way through, and I'm not assuming it's always going to be like that. If I'm lucky enough to get another one in the works, because it's a difficult thing to do. I'm not assuming it'll happen, but I did genuinely really enjoy doing the knockout. It kind of got more interesting for me the more it went along, and that was down to the contributions. People would just bang up for talking about it in a way that I thought some of them might not be. And all the way through, I was just thinking to myself, God, if I can't do something decent with all this material I've got from all of these, fighters, then I need shooting, really. So but I kind of enjoyed that little bit of, you just get competitive with yourself, don't you? Basically, I had no idea how it would do in terms of sales or anything like that. But by the time I'd finished it, I was happy with it. And that was all I was really bothered about, to be honest.
Brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll kick on. Instead of writing, you can talk tonight. You'll have your couple little rants on it. You always have a little rant on there, Andy. It's good. People see Andy and think, they must think, if you don't know Andy, you see him and you think, he's always having a grunt. But he isn't like that at all. I can promise you, he's a good man. He's a very good fella, in fact. But so, John, round one. Are you ready with your clock and your sore throat from cheering on the football?
All ready to go.
A fight Andy's going to be at Saturday. Not sure if yours here. Callum Simpson. He's got Ivan Zuko.
Yeah, the Callum Simpson story continues. We're expecting around 15,000 there on Saturday night at Oakwell. I believe he's done 12,000 himself. Personally sold 12,000 tickets. Fighting a big punching southpaw, Ivan Zuko, undefeated for the vacant European title. I think if we're all dead honest, it's not the opponent we would have liked to have seen Callum in with after he got rid of Chelly. I think he's above fighters like Zuko, but in terms of boosting his profile and getting him to that next level, I think it's the perfect next step, and it puts him directly in my shop window for some big fights. If Callum Simpson's a European champion, attracting 15,000 people to a football stadium, he's got a lot of drawing power and a lot of pulling power. Whether we can handle it at the top level remains to be seen. I'm not sure Zuko will tell us that. I think he might be quite dangerous early, but this story's getting bigger and bigger and more interesting. And Callum Simpson could quite easily become one of the country's biggest draws. Yeah,
they've sold, Boxer and Sky have sold this brilliantly. That thing he did last week, collecting the tickets from your ticket, coming and meeting him, collecting your ticket on the Wednesday night was fantastic. It's like Hatton-esque. It makes you think you're part of it, that you know a Callum Simpson story. It's brilliant. Andy?
Yeah, the ability to sell tickets like that. You think about Hatton and Warrington and Bilham Smith, and it's graft. Everybody thinks these ticket sellers were kind of born, but they're not. They really have to work at it, and he's just getting the rewards of that now. And he's good to watch as well. I agree. We can't really know how good he is yet, but he's good to watch. He trains hard. He trusts his chin. He just backs himself in every single situation, and that he will give everything he's got, and that's really all you can ever ask for. I think Zuko will make for a good fight. I've seen him a couple of times. He punches hard enough, probably not as hard as his record suggests, but hard enough. Southpaw, he will come to fight, but he's not the hardest to hit. He doesn't really get his head off the line, so I think it'll be a good watch, and that's what you want, isn't it? But to pretty much sell out somewhere like Oakwell, I mean, it's kind of amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, and he sold it without an undercard.
Yeah.
Completely without an undercard. As soon as Callum Simpson was fighting at Oakwell, the ticket sold. That's insane. That doesn't happen nowadays.
No, Jeffers is boxing on it, isn't he? And I would love to see Simpson Jeffers. I would love that.
Maybe we will, but then you look maybe later, the early next year. You can Hamza Shiraz, Edgar Berlanga, those sort of fights is what you've got to be looking at now for him. As John says on here so often, promoters of the days are gone when they're not going to work together. If there's demand for, say, Shiraz Simpson, it happens.
Yeah.
Round two. Sorry, jumped the gun there. Before John's bell, Zelfa Barrett, lightweight. Zelfa a lot of TV fights he's had. He's back on the smallish hall this Saturday. VIP show, VIP run by his manager Steve Wood and the 11-11 management against Christian Bielma, a Mexican. It's how Zelfa's going to do at lightweight and what there might be for him at lightweight. Now, I've always thought he should have been at lightweight 2 or 3 years ago. Steve Wood isn't so sure on that himself. Joe Gallo's adamant it's a lightweight, and there doesn't seem a lot happening for him at Matchroom. I just wonder what there is going to be for Zelfa at lightweight. He's getting to the stage of the career now where if he does next time he's back on a big show, he's going to be on the B side. I don't think no one's going to do him any favours. I'm hearing that Matchroom weren't too enamoured when the Jazza Dickens rematch was turned down because he was going to lightweight. So I'm just wondering how he's going to do at lightweight and what there is for him.
When you look at the British scene, there's some decent enough fights there for him, aren't there? You look at there's Noakes, Maxi Hughes, Josh Padley I saw today. He's just got himself a good ranking. I don't feel like he's been at super featherweight for too long, although it wouldn't have taken him to stay there much longer for that to be the case. He's had lots of fights because he turned over young, didn't he? I don't know if I ever really got the impression there was much of a plan there for him with Matchroom, because the evidence would suggest that there wasn't really. They talked about him being their next big thing in Manchester, but did they ever really do anything about that? I mean, it never really looked to me like they did.
You've got to do things like that, like Callum Simpson, Boxer have done with Callum Simpson and Sky.
Yeah,
and what they've done with Pat Brown, Matchroom have done it recently, but with Pat, haven't they?
Yeah, John.
It's never made sense to me, Zelfa, because I'm sure you know him, Andy. Me and Steve know him. You couldn't meet a better guy. He's got a great, exciting style. He looks the part. He can talk in front of a camera. He can knock people out. Why he's not latched on it, I just don't know. And I know Zelfa always thought he was good at super featherweight, but I'm just glad that he's getting a new start. He can move to lightweight and he gets a chance to reinvent himself. Put that Jazza Dickens fight behind him, because that was terrible. He was terrible that night. And we get a chance to see Zelfa start again. Come back at lightweight, get off to a good start with a good performance, and then let's go again, Zelfa, because I think he's probably just got time for one more run, but he can't afford another mistake.
Yeah, this is the last run, the last run, and I think Zelfa will keep going. He loves boxing that much. I don't think he's someone who will retire, but the next loss it ends him as a big fighter at a big stage. There won't be another second big chance. Andy, round 3, pointless setup fights. You told me there was a couple that got you throwing the paperback copies around of Knockout on the weekend. How about, go on, take us away. 3 minutes and John and myself will sit here.
So, pointless setup fights. Basically, at the weekend, we had Charlo against Lamanna and we had Plant against Resendiz. And the plan was that they would both win and then they would fight each other. But Plant didn't win. And now it looks like they probably might try and make that fight anyway. But one thing they won't do is reward Resendiz and give him the fight with Charlo. You wouldn't have thought. These setup fights, Garcia against Romero and Haney against Ramirez. Garcia lost, but they're probably still going to try and make that fight anyway. What they're not going to do is do Haney against Romero. So what is going on here? What is the point of these fights? If you want to make two, what you could describe as straight fixes, where you know for absolutely certain that the two people you want to win are going to win, then they're not going to be competitive fights, therefore pointless. So there's no point in doing that. So just get rid of them. Don't do them. Just make the fight that people want to see already. And if a fighter says, I need more time and I need this, say, you can't have it. And if you don't want to do it, then we'll find 2 other people who want to fight. And the climate has been a bit more like that recently. Or, and I'm bang up for this, you do proper semi-finals and the winners stay on. And it's made clear to everybody that that is what's going to happen. And the promoter and the organisers will probably have 2 guys who they prefer to win because commercially it would be better, but the winners stay on. Because remember, Joshua Wallin, Parker Wilder, the idea was, they even announced it, Joshua and Wilder would win, but Parker beat Wilder. What would have been wrong with Joshua Parker rather than Joshua and Ngannou? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely right, and you're bang on. But the thing we touched there, Garcia Haney fighting. When Garcia got beat in Times Square, the press conference afterwards, Oscar was almost matter of fact. Well, don't worry, Garcia and him are still going to meet down the line soon. It was almost like well, he's lost it, but they're still going to fight. And he was matter of fact about it. There wasn't well, he lost tonight. We're still going to do the fight.
Perfect example, Andy. Don King's middleweight tournament when we had Hopkins against Keith Holmes and Tito Trinidad William Joppy. They obviously wanted Hopkins and Trinidad to win, but if Joppy and Holmes had won, it would have been Joppy and Holmes. And that's how the tournament should go. That's a good example.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, a kind of tournament thing where you have a proper couple of semi-finals. Absolutely, I'm with that all of the way. But you've just got to stay true to it. And if you're not going to, just don't bother.
Yeah.
John, Jaron Ennis.
Yeah, what's going on with Jaron Ennis? Now, you only have to have watched a few boxing matches to see that Jaron Ennis is a top quality fighter. He's got everything you could want. He's fast, he's slick, he can punch, he can box, he's got a good defence. But it just seems to me like he's treading water. There's so many moving parts at welterweight, and Jaron Ennis isn't involved. Now, I was sat wondering why this is earlier. And I'm wondering if he's too tight at welterweight and he's not willing to take on a dangerous guy at welterweight. That's the only possible thing I can think of, because his career's slipping by. I know it was his aim and his dream to unify the division before he moved up to 154. He's done that, and we've had no news since. So I'm just wondering if he's holding on at welterweight but doesn't want to take on a big name. I cannot understand why Jaron Ennis isn't pushing for a major fight.
Yeah, when you was covering this topic, I just think it looks like is it Guy Soft, the mandatory IBF? That might be next. So what? So I'm thinking, is he just going to wait what happens with Pac-Man and Barrios and have that fight even before he moves up? And does it get you going? No.
No, it doesn't, does it? And like you say, that welterweight division's just not outside of him. It doesn't seem all that appealing. Brian Norman's the other champion, good fighter.
Brian Norman,
but again,
Brian Norman against him is a good fight, but it's that match that where Boots was 2 years ago. We were talking about, he was going to dominate the sport. Yeah,
that's it. And where is that fight? Kind of, where's it gone? It's a shame, because things can move quite fast, can't they? The landscape could shift quite quickly, and there isn't really an obvious route for him to go at the minute. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, waiting for Barrios Pacquiao. I mean, okay, that's supposed to be when? Is it July, mid-July, isn't it? I think that's supposed to be.
Yeah, it is July.
And it's whatever happens with that, it's kind of, you feel like if Barrios wins, it'll be because Pacquiao's old and completely past it, and you won't get loads of credit for it. And if Pacquiao somehow manages to win, then you're just ending up with something that, again, nobody would want to really see, I don't think, because you just fear for Pacquiao in that situation, even if he had to win. Why is he not
screaming and shouting to get a fight with Virgil Ortiz at 154? Yeah. Why is he not demanding something big? Why is he not trying to beat Madrimov and do a better job than Crawford? Why isn't he putting himself in the position? We never hear him. He never does an interview. He never asks for anything. And I just cannot understand what Ennis's game is.
Round 5, Fabio Wardley is entering WBA against Justice Huni this week. People I talk to know I work in boxing. They might be casual boxing fans. But the number of people now who are asking me about Fabio Wardley, is he becoming that people's champion because he's almost perhaps the last of a kind of a heavyweight who's going to come from the white collar to potentially challenging for the world heavyweight title? It's just amazing a number of people seem to be not latching onto him but asking questions about him. Do you know this guy, this Wardley, this guy from Ipswich, because they've seen the knockout against Fraser Clarke? And I just think this guy, he's the British fighter over the next. Obviously, Callum Simpson's a bit of is that blue collar hero in Barnsley. he could. I got a feeling Wardley could become the attraction of British boxing in 12 months' time if he keeps winning. Because people, as I say, I go on popularity through people I chat to about boxing who don't follow the sport. But I'm getting asked about this guy so often now. I don't know if you feel that or whether he's still in the locker as such.
No, I completely agree with you, because I remember we had a kind of an away day at Sky ages ago when Fabio had only had a few fights and he had a couple on Sky, and people were asked to say, who do you think could be a future pay-per-view star? And 2 or 3 said him, because he's got a good story. He's a really good talker. He's athletic. He's good to watch. He can absolutely bang. And you just don't know how good he might be. We can't know, can we? Because sometimes when somebody turns over, I was talking to Macklin about this the other day, and he put it really well. He said that if someone turns over with 300 amateur fights and they've done really, really well, they're obviously very good, but they might not get much better when they turn pro. They might be what they are. Whereas with Wardley, I mean, who knows? Who knows? There could be loads more improvement to come. And if there is, then we've really got something on our hands. But he's very exciting, and he just lets his hands go. When he's hurt, he lets his hands go. He has absolutely no fear of rolling that dice.
That's my favourite thing about him. Like, do you remember when Nathan Gorman broke his nose and he went into berserk and all, didn't he? And just took him out. He fought straight through it. I think he's got a hard task this weekend.
Really?
I think Cooney's the best guy he's faced by a million miles. I know he's not got the Olympic bronze medal Fraser Clarke has, but Fraser's an older man who'd been around the block. Cooney's 26, ambitious, unbeaten. He'll stand inside and trade with Wardley. And I think it might develop into a bit of a shootout. I think it's a tough fight. If he comes through this, Wardley deserves a big, big fight. Fingers crossed. I'm pulling for him. I love Fabio. I love listening to him as well.
Yeah, me too.
Sixth and final round. We always finish with Andy doing the final round when he comes on this. Come on, Andy, you told me what it was. They're not your mates, are they, with these boxers, are they, who are going to fight their mates? Are they really mates or what?
Well, this was inspired by watching the Champions League final on Saturday between PSG and Inter Milan. And I couldn't quite believe it when I saw a PSG player score the opening goal and then refuse to celebrate. So I looked him up on Wikipedia, and he spent 1 season at Inter Milan. And I'm sitting there just thinking, come on, man, what is wrong with you? What is this bullshit? And then it got me thinking, for the purposes of this, fighters who say, oh, no, I couldn't fight him. He's my bro, he's my gym mate, he's my friend. Unless they are actually a member of your family, a blood relation, then you should be willing to fight anyone. If the business decrees it, if it's the best thing for your career. None of this, oh, well, we can't fight each other because of this, that, and the other. You should be prepared to do it. It's the game that you're in.
Yeah.
It's funny, there's a fight, I'm not going to say it on here, so I don't want to embarrass. There's a much small, quite a, international area title level. I'm trying to do at the moment, but it's not going to happen because they're mates, I've been told. So, look, it's called prize fighting for a reason.
Yeah, it is.
For money, and you fight them, and that's it. You can be pals afterwards. You hear this. You're hearing it more and more. He's my bro and all that. Some of them must have only had a Nando's once at a Wayne or share the changing room at your call. But yeah, I agree with you. It's ridiculous because it's a business. It's about money. So get in there and have it with each other.
Exactly, and I love it.
Unless it's a blood brother.
Yeah, I love it when I speak to fighters who just say, no, I'm absolutely fine to do it. I remember speaking to Jeffers when Jack Cullen was British champion, and I kind of suggested, that'd be a bit awkward, wouldn't it? And he was just, why would that be awkward?
Yeah.
And I said, well, because you're gym mates. And he's just like, so? And him and Simpson are very similar like that. Simpson he genuinely didn't understand what I was talking about, Jeffers. He didn't understand why that would be a problem. And it just made me smile at, because I just thought, good, that's how you need to be.
Dude, what's the thinking behind it? Why do we do it? They're scared of losing.
Yeah.
And that's it, isn't it? Like, I'm looking at Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson now. I fully understand why Keyshawn doesn't want to fight Shakur, because he treats him like a brother, because he knows he'd get beaten. He'd get stood on his head. Shakur probably doesn't fancy the fight either, because Keyshawn might be a bit tricky. So that's all it is. We're just scared of losing. And that's it. The top and bottom of it.
So what you said there, I'd imagine you're a fighter. losing to someone you go on holiday with or around town with is a lot more embarrassing than...
It would be terrible.
Say, oh, them two are... Oh, yeah, you got chinned by him last week in the 8th round
terrible.
on Sky. And that Andy Clarke was on the commentary, said, what a poor performance from him afterwards.
You never let him forget it, would you? Imagine the text.
Maybe let's go back to, I think I've used this quote before. I think Bunsey interviewed, not on this sort of thing, about embarrassment of losing to some Fabio Wardley. And he said about losing to him, he said, yeah, what's worse in losing is you've been in a white collar fight where all the locals are there, and the guy that's knocked you out, you've knocked out, is at the other end of the bar the following Saturday looking at you with his mates around him.
Yeah, he told me that. He said Fraser Clarke.
Sorry, Mark, you. Sorry, I thought it was Steve.
He said Fraser Clarke might go to Latvia and get beat in an international tournament, and he comes back and people shrug their shoulders. He said the fella I've knocked out stood 15 yards away from me in a pub, everyone reminding him. So it's way more embarrassing.
It's a brilliant quote. It's one of my favourite Wardley quotes, and I thought it was Steve. Fantastic, that, John.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Anyway, fellas, Andy, thanks for coming on again this week. I hope the book sells out. You can't get it at WH Smith's in Terminal 1, 2 or 3 at Manchester Airport. Gatwick Airport, Heathrow Airport, Terminal 5, where the Smiths is like a department store. I hope they sell out by the weekend. And thank you very much for coming on. John,
no problem.
Thank you enough for recovering from your weekend at Wembley. It'll be a long time before you're there again, I think. So I'm glad you enjoyed the weekend.
Next year.
These Oldham fans. Getting a bit very cocky. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching or listening, and we'll be back next week, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks again to Andy and John.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.